Welcome back to It's Your Law. I'm George Curtis, and Tom Sitter for the Richards Agency, and I are discussing what a bargain casualty insurance is in the state of Wisconsin, and it really is a tremendous bargain. The med pay is such inexpensive health and accident type insurance for people who are injured in a car or on a trip. The liability is a bargain. Uninsured and underinsured motorists are so important, and they're very, very cheap. And yet, almost everybody that's involved in an accident is not fully or properly protected. Why is that?
Well, I think insurance is one of those topics or subjects that a lot of people just don't want to spend the time with it. And I'd like to mention a number of times that insurance a lot of times is less than your cable bill. And for my household, the cable TV is $53 a month or $600 a year. And yet they'll look at an insurance policy, think they're paying way too much, and want to drive it to the lowest dollar sometimes. Not everyone's that way, but consumers tend to go in that direction.
I have people come in here all the time when I say bring in your policy, and they say, don't worry, I'm fully insured. Mm-hmm. Well, they aren't fully insured. They usually have the basic minimums, and often they have waived important things like med pay or underinsured motorist or something like that. And I said, well, why? Why would you do something like that? How did this happen? He said, well, it must be my agent's fault because I was fully insured with another company. The bill came. I thought, this is high. I wonder if I can get it cheaper somewhere else. So I called another agent in the phone directory and say, this is my bill for car insurance. Can you beat it? And of course they said yes. But what they really did is sold them less insurance.
Yeah, and that's an unfortunate thing that happens in the industry. At our office and a number of offices, we compare apples for apples, and then we offer our recommendations. We'll say, look, we are lower than the other company, but you should have higher limits and also change your deductibles, because just making a change in deductibles, you can buy a lot higher limits and still have a great package.
And so many people bump into the first crisis when they have an accident because their Detroit Wonder is really worth $1,500, but in that they paid too much from the corner used car lot for it, and they've got finance charges on it. They owe $4,000. Mm-hmm. They think that the other insurance company, the insurance company for the guy who caused the accident, has to pay $4,000 when the car's only worth $1,500. That's not true, is it?
No, and when we have situations like that where a vehicle is totaled, we do double check what the adjuster has come up with, whether it's from one of our companies or a different company, just to make sure that someone is getting the fair price for what that vehicle was worth prior to the accident.
Well, not only that, you can sell gap insurance.
Right, but that's only available for newer cars.
Oh, is it?
And a lot of times you have to get that within 90 days of purchasing a brand new car.
Well, it is so sad when I see these folks who went in and paid 4 times what a car was worth because they had iffy credit, or mm-hmm. some car dealer convinced them that he or she would finance it for them, and then it gets in a wreck and the car is worth $500 and they owe $8,000. And this is just a sad, sad situation, because if these folks have to go to the grocery store or have a job, they need wheels. Mm-hmm. And they still owe $8,000, and somebody's offering them $500. It's probably worth $1,500, and we have those awkward situations, and so do you.
Yes.
What are some of the other coverages on the car that folks should be aware of?
Well, another coverage that applies to auto and homeowners is the umbrella coverage. That's where you can take your liability and add another layer of $1 million on top of what you carry for your house and car. A lot of people overlook that and don't realize that in Wisconsin it's about $120 to $140 a year for that type of policy.
And that means that you work your whole life to accumulate some assets so you can think about possibly retiring, and it's not all going to be taken away from you because one of your kids was in a bad accident and they were at fault.
Correct. And for that layer of coverage, it's not only an extra $1 million on top of your auto and home policy, it can extend to boats, snowmobiles, ATVs, and it also picks up the legal costs for defending you. And as you well know, when the insurance company has $1 million on the line, they will fight you on that claim.
Or 10 cents. No, the free lawyer is awfully, awfully important to the coverage. I think that things change so fast in terms of costs of cars, medical costs. They change so rapidly in terms of the law. Everyone should have an insurance agent that goes over all of their coverages at least once a year. What's your thought on that?
Definitely, because it's a service that all agencies should provide, and it's something we do with our customers to keep them up to date on what their current coverages are and what has changed in the marketplace. Like a few years back, wrongful death was a new statute in Wisconsin. So these are all things that need to be updated for people every year.
And we all like to think that accidents are something that happen to somebody else, that they don't happen to us. And yet, in the thousands of cases I have handled, most of those people were no more deserving of being injured or paralyzed or crippled or have their lives turned upside down, being incapable of working and supporting their family. And they can't control what kind of coverage the tortfeasor, the person who caused the accident, has. But they can really cushion their family entirely with their own policy for an extra $100 a year.
Correct. And as you mentioned, bad things do happen to good people. And a lot of times they think it's just something they had to be responsible for on their land or with their car. But it extends away from their home. It extends to Menominee Park in that baseball game. It extends to a trip up north in a hunting accident. So there's so many things that you and I see that happens as accidents, and people get hurt and they need to have coverage.
In the realities of today's life, where there are so many kinds of things that can go wrong, with or without anybody's fault, your insurance agent can be your best friend. Spend some time, ask good questions, come with your questions written out, get answers, listen to the expert, and don't dump your insurance agent for $15 next time the premium becomes due. Good advice?
Yes, it is. And we've had situations where we quote things apple for apples, and there's only a $20 difference, and we tell them, you should stay with your current agent. Don't move for $20.
Good advice. Thank you very much, Tom Sitter, for being on the show.
You bet. Thank you.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a moment to discuss sponsorship of the driving privileges for somebody between the ages of 16 and 18. Normally it's a parent, but not always a parent, that sponsors these driving privileges. Keep in mind, parents, that you as a sponsor of your youngsters' privileges are really the backup insurance company out of your own personal assets. Additionally, you're responsible not only for all of the injuries and damages caused by your child through negligent use of a motor vehicle, but also for intentional acts causing injury or damage. And there is no insurance policy in the world that will cover up for the intentional damages caused by your child. You're really exposed. If you have a child that is driving irresponsibly, you have the right to notify the motor vehicle department and withdraw your sponsorship, which results in the loss of the license for that child. It also results in saving your family from a gargantuan debt as a result of bad driving. It's important you be objective and strong for the protection of your entire family. That's my opinion. I'm George Curtis.